3 Republican primaries up, 3 Republican primaries down. And far from locking this thing up, Trump's fortunes are actually getting worse for him. Here's exactly what I mean. Trump got 51% of the vote in the Iowa caucus. Already a rough start for a guy whose claim to fame is that he's the second coming of Christ within the Republican primary. But still, he had a bunch of primary opponents, so benefit of the doubt, maybe it's not so bad. Then a few of his challengers drop out, and so you figure Trump runs away with it in New Hampshire, right? Wrong. Trump only got 54% of the vote in New Hampshire, proving that now there's actually a pattern underscoring Trump's weakness. Skip ahead to South Carolina, a much more conservative electorate. Everyone has dropped out of the GOP primary except Nikki Haley, so surely Trump would consolidate support. Small problem, he didn't. In fact, he couldn't even break 60%, coming in just shy, meaning that in every primary state, Donald Trump could barely manage to exceed even half of the votes from his own base. Again, remember, this isn't the general electorate. There are no radical left communist Democrats included in those totals. These are Republican caucus goers and Republican primary voters. And far from proving himself this titan in the GOP, he is getting hit with the weekly message that half of his own base, the people who should be gimmies for him, are not on board with him as the party's nominee. He'll do this whole tough guy song and dance, but anyone who's got their head even half screwed on knows that this is a blinking red light for Trump. By the way, for anyone huffing that copium out there, want to know what it actually looks like when a candidate unifies the party? In the Democratic primary in that same state, South Carolina, Joe Biden took over 96% of the vote. That is what it looks like when a candidate is performing strongly. That's what it looks like when a candidate is beloved by his own party. Trump doesn't get to pretend that he performs well because we have the benefit of seeing what it looks like when a party's nominee actually has the support of his voters. In fact, that was a point that was brought up, of all places, on Fox News.
If you think about this, this is a unique election in the sense that we have basically 2 incumbents. You have Joe Biden, who's running for a second term, and Donald Trump, who's running for a second term, right? And so how did Joe Biden do in South Carolina? 96.2% of the vote. Donald Trump got 60%, and 4 in 10 voters in the Republican Party said no. Even though they know that the race is pretty much over, that he's going to be the nominee, they still voted against him. That is a problem, because when he says this is the most united Republican Party he's ever seen, it is not the most united Republican Party.
And you know things are bad when reality gets acknowledged on Fox. But oh, it gets worse. Because of those 40% of South Carolina Republicans who chose Haley, 59% of them said that they wouldn't vote for Trump if he became the nominee. Let's be clear, a candidate can afford a small amount of defections from within his own party, maybe a few percentage points, but not 59% of 40% of voters, which amounts to roughly a quarter of the Republican primary electorate. Remember, Trump's only job here is to expand his coalition. He lost by razor-thin margins in states like Arizona and Georgia and Wisconsin in 2020, and yet, far from closing that margin, the guy is seeing massive defections from within his own base. If that is not a warning sign, I don't know what is. But just for fun, let's see what Fox News had to say about that one.
The real key here is this 59% of Haley voters who say that they would not vote for Donald Trump should he become the nominee. That tracks with about 24% of the Republican Party, which is right along the lines of what that New York Times Siena poll showed us almost a year ago now, in terms of the makeup of the Republican Party, in which there was about 25% of Republicans who say that they are never Trumpers.
And of course, let's do one more. When asked whether Trump would be fit to be president if convicted of a crime, 82% of Haley voters said no. 82%. Again, a familiar pattern. After the Iowa caucus, 31% of Republican Iowa caucus goers said no. And in New Hampshire, 42% said no. And sure, that's just hypothetical for now. The guy is contending with 4 prosecutions and 91 criminal charges. And I would bet my last dollar that he is going to be convicted. And it's not like any of his recent court rulings have inspired a ton of confidence either, having lost civil cases to the tune of $5 million, $83 million, and now $455 million, including prejudgment interest. So if Trump thinks that these numbers are bad, just wait until he's begging for campaign donations as a convicted felon. And look, I can already hear the pushback. Donald Trump is going to win every primary contest in every state, and he'll be the nominee. And I agree. But there is a big difference between limping your way through the nominating contest and actually garnering enough votes to win in November. Trump is doing the former, he is not doing the latter. With that said, I'm going to offer the most important caveat of all. If you care about democracy, ignore the primary results, ignore the horse race, ignore the polls. Act as if Donald Trump is up by 90 points. The fact is that there is so much more on the ballot this election than just a Democrat versus a Republican. This isn't about taxes or the debt or any of the usual stuff. This is about democracy. It's about having the guarantee that there will be another election after this one. That should transcend party politics, because not for nothing, but there is nothing more conservative than conserving our very democracy. So I get that a good portion of the both sides media coverage will breathlessly focus on Biden's age or Dems in disarray and will never dare acknowledge the blinking red light that Donald Trump is contending with. But there is a reason that he is so weak, and that's because of the unique threat that he poses to this country. So much so that even his own primary base is starting to realize it. Instead of ignoring these people, we should try to understand why so many of them are defecting from him in the first place. It is because he is a clear and present danger to the United States. And the more reminders we can get of that point, the better. Before you go, to see more content from MSNBC, make sure to subscribe to this channel by clicking the link right here on the screen. And you can also follow the link to see some exclusive content only on TikTok.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah, I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
The Megatron.
This was just a diversion. Security teams bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. What's readiness? What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We're facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General! General!